I, 20F, have coached a sports camp over the summer for the last several years at my local elementary school. The camp covers all sorts of sports and games for kids in elementary school to let them try many different sports and see which ones might stick. This year, we've started an inclusion program for kids on the spectrum, where inclusion specialists work at our camp specifically to look after those kids and help them through the camp if they need it. I've really enjoyed this program, and nothing is better than watching a kid find a sport they enjoy or excel at. Fast forward to this week, the third week we're holding the camp, and enter Connor and his mother Sarah, fake names of. Connor is 10, on the older side for this camp, and when we first met him in the morning, he seemed like a pretty good kid to work with at a camp. The problem was his mother. She pulled me aside before the day started to specifically tell me about what Connor needed. Turns out, Connor had pretty severe meltdowns, and what triggered them was losing. His mother asked me to make sure Connor never lost a game. This included his team never losing, letting him win all the races, making sure his team came first in the relays, never letting him get tagged in tag, and never letting him get eliminated in any sort of last man standing game. I told her on no uncertain terms that I couldn't control that, and that was unfair to the other kids if I told them to always let him win. She was not happy about this and told me that they were trying to avoid meltdowns this week and that he was working on it, but losing was still incredibly emotional for him. I told her that she really shouldn't have sent him to a sports camp if she thought it would put him in distress or force all the other kids to cater to him. She asked me what the hell the inclusion program was for, and I told her it meant I as a coach could help him and his inclusion specialist could help him, but the other kids weren't a part of this inclusion program. She left very angry, but left Connor with us for the day, during which he had 2 meltdowns that the inclusion specialist dealt with, but I started feeling guilty. The whole point of the program was to allow kids like him to participate, but I didn't want to sacrifice the other kids' experience just for him. So, Ida? Edit, thank you so much for your interactions, but here's a few quick details that I think got lost along the way. 1. This is not just a camp for neurodivergent kids, we brought a program in to integrate those kids in with the neurotypical kids. Over the past 3 weeks, there's been about a 10-to-1 ratio of neurotypical to neurodivergent. 2. This is a pretty small camp, 20 to 30 kids max, and my neighbor used to run this camp when I was in high school, but when I graduated he handed a lot of it over to me. He now runs the financial, location, marketing, and legal stuff while I organize most of the camp itself along with a few other coaches, 2 of whom are still in high school, 2 in college. There isn't really a supervisor or higher up I can hand the mother over to except for the inclusion specialist. Hope this helps. Edit 2. Sorry, I don't hire the inclusion specialists, nor do I know exactly what they're qualified with, but they are working through a separate program outside our camp that we partnered with. They match the neurodivergent kids 1-to-1, and they are provided with all the information with the kids, including lists of trigger and what calms them down. They are all qualified adults, real adults, not college students and high schoolers like the coaches, and as far as I could tell they handled Connor's meltdowns with a lot of patience and expertise and got him back to playing with the other kids within a half hour or so after each inciting incident. When I originally told Sarah that the Camp W as likely not a good fit for Connor, I was more thinking about how the kid would be miserable in a cycle of meltdowns all day, and not about the qualifications of the inclusion program. Update 1. I also want to explain why I originally thought the camp wouldn't be a good space for Connor, and how I was proven wrong. I've always seen the camp as a place for kids to have fun and try new things, and I didn't consider its value as a space for learning to manage triggers and work through emotions since we just introduced this program this year. From the way Sarah described Connor's emotional state, I heard about a kid who would likely hate most parts of the camp we ran, and would be very unhappy for 7 hours a day for a week. While I understand the value of working through those upsetting emotions, the camp I run is meant to be fun, not stressful, or akin to a therapy session. I felt this way because I grew up with pretty severe anxiety related to school and I would have panic attacks before tests, so trying to imagine my parents sending me to a big test camp for some exposure therapy during my summer break sounded horrible. Ignoring any sort of disability, competitive sports don't mesh well with certain personalities. While they have always been a great outlet for me, I see kids all the time who really don't enjoy how competition makes them feel emotionally or physically but are pushed into them by overbearing parents trying to relive their glory days. Ultimately, once I explained to Sarah that I wasn't going to rig the games, I understand now how saying he shouldn't be at the camp had the wrong connotation, but I wanted the kid to have fun, and I didn't want to place him in a position he couldn't do that. Ultimately, I was wrong, and even with the meltdowns he's had, I think the inclusion specialists are really helping him, and I still agree with most of you that Sarah was unreasonable. However, I also do stand by the fact that if Connor was as volatile and emotional when he lost as his mother made him seem, I don't think the camp would have been a good place for him yet. Turns out, it was, and I'm glad Sarah left him with us.